Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, and in today's video this is what we are going to be creating today. We are going to be creating a prism object animation, and this is actually going to be so much fun because we are not just going to be exploring After Effects, we are going to be exploring Cinema 4D, Element 3D and After Effects itself. This tutorial is actually for those that have basic knowledge in Cinema 4D, Element 3D and After Effects, and the project file is actually available for you to tag along in this tutorial, so you can get that in the description below. Hope you really enjoy this, and I'll see you after the tutorial. Let's go. So the very first thing we want to do is to go into Cinema 4D, then click on our object here and click on the sphere. Then the next thing is we want to reduce the segment. Right now is at 16 segments. What I will do is to reduce it to 3. And as soon as I do that, it gives us this icosahedron shape. With this, we form our first object. So the next object is going to be the same prism shape, but more of an outline. So what I'll do, before we even do that, I would like to increase the scale a little bit. So let me just come here and increase the scale of this a little bit. And let me go to the object. So let me click on the sphere, go to coordinates. Then I would like to increase the scale on the y-axis. If I come here and then increase the value here, let me put this at 2. That's too much. So let me just make it 1.4. Still too much. Let's make it 1.2. Let's see what we have. So I think I'm happy with this. Now I'm going to click on this. Let me rename this to prism. Then I'm going to click on this and I'm going to hold down Control to duplicate. Now I'm going to name this prism stroke so that we could identify it easily. So I'm just going to hide this for now. So if you want to hide your object in Cinema 4D, all you need to do is just click on this, and that object will be hidden. So if I click on this, there will not be object in the scene. So let me activate this because this is what I'm working with right now. For me to get the outline or the stroke for this particular object, I need to add one of the modifiers here. So if I click on this and hold, I need to add atom array. So I click on atom array and let me just drag this down, and this is the one I'm dealing with. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag this into this, and as soon as I do that, I have this interesting looking object. What I need to do is to reduce the radius of these angles, even though it's really looking cool, but I really do not need that. So I'll click on atom array and then come down to object, and I'm going to reduce the sphere radius. So let me click on this. I'm going to get down, make sure it is about 2 centimeters, which is fine, and I think I'm really happy with this. So but for now, let me just zoom out, use these 3 eye buttons here to zoom and navigate through your scene here, and then I'm going to activate what we have before, and then I'm going to select this and I'm just going to select the scale, then drag it down so we can have a smaller prism basically. So let me look this. I think I'm pretty satisfied with this. So what I need to do now is to save this as an object for Element 3D. So I'm going to go to File, go to Export, and I'm going to click on Wavefront OBJ. There are other options, but this seems like the best option, Wavefront OBJ, and I'll click on this. You can go ahead and click OK. The default settings for this is fine. And then I'm going to come here. I've actually had one before, so I'm just going to come here and name this prism object. I'm going to click OK, and we are done with Cinema 4D part. All right, so now we are back into After Effects, and for this you will need a plugin, Element 3D plugin from Video Copilot. I'll leave the link in the description. For our composition here, what I have is a 1080 by 1080. So let me quickly go to composition settings. So I have a 1080 by 1080 resolution size, 10 seconds long, and I've named this to main scene. Make sure it's 30 frames per second, and we are good. I'll click OK, and then I'll right click, go to new solid. I'm going to name this Element 3D. You can make it whatever color you want, doesn't matter. I'll click OK. Then I'm going to use FX console from Video Copilot. I'm going to do control space and type in element, and that is there. You have a blank screen here. All I need to do is to go to my first control and click on scene setup, and from here I just need to import the object that I've made. So I'll click go to import. I'll try and locate it. So here it is, prism objects. Click on this and then I'll click on open. All these default settings are fine. I'll click OK, and then I have my object here. If I want to pan around and see what this is, I'll just click on my scene and click and drag. You can see this, and I think I'm really happy with this. But then if I come here, you can see it has already put in a group, and this is the object. And if I click on this, this is the default material that comes with it. So what I'll do, I'll just close it up for now. And then if I come down here where we have view, you can see that I have the very first view here is the material view. And if I come here, the second view here, object or mesh view. So if I click this and I come here, then open this up, you can see that I have the objects broken into two. So if I select this, I can move this left, right. So let me undo that. It has finally separated the elements. If I click the one under, I can drag it left or right. I will undo that. I'm going to click on this object 01. I'll rename it to prism inside. I'll click OK. So if I check this and make sure that is it, and then the one here is the one outside. So let me just rename this to prism outside, and I'll click OK. The next thing I like to do is to go to my prism inside. So if I come down to the object settings here, I can see transform, I can see scale, orientation. But what I'm interested right now is the auxiliary animation. This auxiliary animation enabled me to have multiple objects animated. So I'm going to set the one inside to auxiliary channel 1, and that's it. All I need to do now is to click OK. We are still going to come back and then add materials to it. So I'll just click OK for now, and then we will have this appear here. So if you really want to see the old 3D thing in action, what I would say is you can easily create a camera new. Camera 50mm is fine. Okay, then I'll go to the camera 2, and I can come here and just pan around and see that I have my full 3D object here. But now I'm not going to be using camera, just want to use that to be able to view and then snap back to this. So the next thing I like to do is to add material to the object. For this object, I want the object inside to have a different material from the stroke prism. So what I would do is to create the material options here in After Effects, and then we now attach it in the Element 3D itself. So let me quickly show you. So right now I'm going to create another composition. I'm going to name this material, and I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to right click, go to new, solid, then just name this gradient. I can just change this color to whatever color I want, doesn't really matter. I'll click OK. Then what I'll do is I'll add gradient ramp to this, and then from this, all I need to do right now is to change the color. I'm going to use the color that I've used to prepare for this course. I'm just going to click this, come here, then put in the value here and click OK. Then come here and put in the value and click OK. What I need to do now is to change the handles, the start ramp and the end ramp, and I'll just click, make sure I select this, then click and drag this somewhere here, then click and drag this somewhere here. And I think I'm happy with what I'm seeing. Maybe I should just drag this further down. I like this shade. I've done creating my material, so I'll go back to my main scene, then come here, drag my material into this main scene. I really don't want to see it, and I'm just going to check this, and I'm going to go to Cinema 4D, and I'm going to open custom layers, then go to custom texture map. Then I'm going to click on the very first one here, and I'm going to click on material. With this, we can now finally get the material into the Element 3D workspace. So what I need to do now is to click on scene setup, and I'm just going to click on this default material that we have already here. I'll right click and duplicate. Then on this particular prism inside, I'll click and drag this and replace it with that. So let me just come here and rename this. Let me right click and rename this to prism inside gradient. I'll click OK. That's the material I've applied to this. So all I need to do is to click this, then come to the material options here, and I'm going to click on the non-set. So click on this, can load the material that we set for this. I'm going to click on my drop down, then select my custom layer 1, which is the material that I selected in After Effects. Click on this, and I'll click OK. Alright guys, so I realized that exporting the object, which is the prism object, right, all at once for Element 3D was kind of complicated because we couldn't separate the material for the inside, which is the prism inside, and the one outside. So what we need to do now, we need to go back to Cinema 4D and export them separately so we can have their freedom to give them two different materials, and we can really explore from there. Okay, so let's go back to that. So I'm back at my Cinema 4D files. What I need to do now is to export them separately. So I'm going to click on the prism here, and I'm just going to click on this checkbox, and then I'll come here. I'll say export wave objects, click OK. Then on this, I'm just going to name it prism stroke and save. Then all I need to do now is check this and then check this, so you only see the prism inside now. So I'm going to go to my file, export, wave obj, click OK. I'll name this prism inside and click save. With this, we have the object separated. So let's go and import them again in Element 3D. So I have deleted what I have here. So all I need to do is to click on import now and click on prism stroke. Then click on open, click OK, and we have this. So what I need to do now is to import the other one now. So I'll click on import, then I'll click on prism inside and click OK. Then click OK again. And then this, of course, will fill the whole scene. What I need to do is to select this, then go to scale here and then drag it down. Let me make it 50. Now we now have prism stroke and prism inside. So let me just rearrange it. Let this one be down, and we are good. Okay, so but before we go, we still need to set the auxiliary channel for this. Just going to click on this, on the drop down. Make sure your view is on mesh view. I'm going to click on this. Let me see. So I come here and check this. So apparently it comes with the whole outline then, but it doesn't really matter much because that's this inside. So all we need to do is to set the whole of this. Let's set this to auxiliary channel 1. So I'll set this to auxiliary channel 1, and then we are set. We are good to go. So all I need to do now is to have my prism gradient material, then apply to just this, right? And from there we can have this separated. So this is now white, and then we have our gradient here. So if I click OK, you can finally see that I have a gradient inside and I have a stroke. The stroke has its own separate color here, and with this our object is fully set up. So right now I want to fully set up our scene. We want to set up the background, and there's some elements we're going to introduce into the scene. So I'm just going to right click, go to new, click solid. I'm going to name this background, which is BG. So just going to change this to a different color, maybe something like this. Click OK. Then I'm just going to drag this down. For now, I'm going to hide my elements because I really want to focus on the background now. So I'm going to add gradient ramp to this. Then I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to change the color to this here. So I'll click this and now paste this color values and click OK. And I think this blend is just perfect. I believe so. Or let me just drag this up a little bit. Let me zoom out, then have something like this. And then I'm going to create like a spotlight thing here. I'm going to use my pen to zoom out a little bit, then start doing this. Something like this. And let me select this and align to the center. I think this is not looking bad. I'm going to come here, take away the stroke, select no stroke, then come here to the field, then select the gradient option, the third option, and I'll click OK. And I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to come here, set this to white. Then here I'm going to set it to black. I guess I'm going to set it to black, but then it doesn't really matter because I'm going to come here to the opacity side, and I'm just going to reduce the opacity to 0, and I'll set this to be blending at the center like this. Let me just put about 50% here, and I'll click OK. And as it is right now, by zooming, I can see the handles of my gradient here. So I'll just click and drag up like this. Let me zoom out a little bit and drag down. I just want to have a perfect blend of this. Let's see. Let me zoom in and click out. But then I'm still having some dark shade here. So I want to try and investigate what's going on. I'll click this and go back here. Maybe because I changed the color here to black. So let me click on this, make it white, and click OK. Now I click out. Yeah, it's getting there. So I'm going to click this, click on the fill option, then click OK so that I can see the handle for this. I'm just going to drag this down and really drag this side to really fit. Yeah, something like this is good. So let me see. Let me just click on this again, click OK so I can see the handle, and just let this fit a little bit more. So I'm going to settle with this for now. I can always adjust it. I'm just going to name this bottom spotlight and click out. Then the next thing I like to create is the circle animation, but instead of me using a native circle or ellipse shape for me to do that, I'm going to use a particular effect. So I'm going to right click, go to new solid. I'm going to name this radio wave and click OK. Let me change the color to something like this and click OK. I'm going to click on this, then type in the radio wave on this. So let me uncheck the bottom spotlight so we can really focus on the wave. If I drag this, you can see you have this animation going on already, but then I need to tweak this to my settings. So what I need to do, I'll go to the frequency, I'll change it to about 4.6. Let me change the color to white. Then the expansion, I'll change it to about 18.4, and lifespan I'll change it to 20. Fading time I'll change this to 15.3. The start width I'll change this to 19.6, and I think we are done. So if I take this back and then play, we have something really cool like this. That is done. I need to create one more thing. So I'll right click, go to new, click on solid. I'll name this star burst. Okay, change the color to, let's say, something like this so I can easily recognize it. I'll click OK. I'm going to apply CC star burst. Click on this, and then I have this. You're actually going to be using the color. I was supposed to set this to white, but no problem. I'm just going to come here, fill, and then I'll make sure I drag it up. So that will be the first thing, and click on this, change it to white. So if I scroll over this, by default we have this kind of, animations like star animation. Let me change this to full. Okay, so let's move on. So here I'm going to change the scatter to about 3669. So we have few stars. Then the speed, I'm going to change it to about 0.05. Then the phase, I can just play with this a little bit. Let's see. Can you see that as I'm playing with the phase, I'm getting more stars moving in. So let me just do about, let's say 70 to 75% is okay, because I actually want few stars. So grid spacing, I'll make this 2. Size, I'll make this 116, and then we are done with the stars. So if I scroll over this, so I just have very few of them. It's not too much. I'm still going to add an effect to this that will make it really look cool. What I need to do is to activate the rest of things that I've created apart from the element 3D for now. Let me activate my bottom spotlight, and I'm thinking maybe this is my bottom spotlight is a little bit strong, so I'm going to reduce the opacity to, let's say, 80%. It's supposed to be subtle. Maybe I need to still tweak the gradient. So let me just drag this more down. Okay, I think I'm going to settle with that. Now activate the 3D, and then we have something like this. I want to add a glow effect to this, that thing that makes it really look cool. And it's also a plugin from everything. So I'm going to click on my starburst, and then I'll control space, deep glow, and as soon as I do that, can you see the stars are popping up? So let me solo this a little bit. Yeah, can you see the stars are actually merged? What I need to do now is to tweak the settings. So I'll come to the exposure, and I'll set this to 0.2, and maybe I can also play with the radius too. Let me do 460 for this, and now the star is a little bit subtle now, and that's it for that. So let me unsolo this, and you see now we have that subtle star thing going on there. Then for element 3D, let me just close all of this up. Then I'm going to also add the deep glow to this. As soon as I do, can you see that we have this crazy looking effect? We need to tweak this too as well. So I'm going to change the exposure to about 0.3. So now it's looking more interesting. Now the next thing, we want to be able to animate our object. So what I'll do, I'll go to element 3D, then it has a whole lot of functions here that you can play with. Remember, it was in group 1. I'll click this, then I would go to the physical replicator. I can play with the transform here, which is the Y axis, the X axis, the Z axis. I can do all of that here, but there's a smarter way of doing this. So I'm just going to undo, come down here. Instead of me tweaking all of that from here, I'll come down to group utilities and go to create the group null. So I'll click this and I'll click on create. And as soon as I do that, it's going to create a null for me, like a native After Effects null, which is already attached to the Cinema 4D object. And if I click on toggle switches and modes, you can see that it's actually a 3D. So I'm just going to come here and name this element control. So I'm going to click this and drag this up. Then let me start changing the color for this. So I'm going to align this to, then click here and I'll make this yellow. My element 3D is in yellow. My starburst and my wave can make them, maybe I can leave them to red. I think every other thing is fine. My background, change this to dark green, I guess. I think that works. With this now, with the element control, I can open up the position property and I can move to the left, to the right, which is the x-axis, up and down, y-axis, then z-axis too as well. So it just makes the control much more easier to deal with. So the very first thing I would like to do, I'll click on this, press S to just scale it a little bit. So I'll scale it to about 8.5. Then I'll go to the first second here. So the first thing I like to do, I'll click on the position and I'll go to 2 second mark, then set this because I want this to animate from the bottom up. So I'll drag this back and then drag this down. If I align this, easy, and if I play this to come up. Now I'm looking at this, I think I want more of the glow on the element. So let me go here, go to deep glow, and then maybe increase this to about, let's say, 0.5. All right, now it's looking more interesting. One other thing, I also noticed that the material inside it's not really working for me yet, because I really want it to be shining, like the contrast should be there. Right now I can't see any contrast, so I have to go back to my scene setup and then we'll work on the material again. I'm going to select the material here, then come down here and then start tweaking the settings here. So now I think I would like to play with the diffuse. So diffuse, I'll change it to about 12.75. Now it's bringing in more of the shiny part of the material. So the glossiness, I'll increase it to 100. So that will make it shine as well. Specular multiplier, maybe I can reduce that a little bit. So let's say about 80%. The environment, I would like to increase this bunch. Let's do about 260. Going further down to the reflectivity. So reflectivity, I'll just make this 9%. It's looking interesting. So let me scroll down if there's anything else we want to tweak here. I think every other thing just is fine. Every other thing is fine. So I'm now going to click OK, and now you can see that it's looking way different, but then it's looking all blown out. So what I need to do, maybe I need to go to the material option for this, go to my material, double click this, come here. Maybe what I can do right now, instead of me changing the values, I can come here and add curves effect, then just drag this down so I can really have something really dark. Maybe this will do. Let's work with this. So if I go back and see, now we begin to have something much more interesting. Maybe I need to reduce the glow eventually. So let me come down here and reduce this to about 0.4 and work with this. I would go to the first frame, then I would click on the element control, press R for rotation, and I'm just going to play with all these values that are here. Check this, then maybe reduce this to about minus 42 degrees here, minus 239. This is Z rotation, I think that's okay. Then I'll go to the 2 second mark. Can you see that's all rotated in a very weird way? So I'll change this to plus 11 plus 1.8 to 1. You can see that we're back to this. I think for now we don't even need the Z rotation. So what I will do is I light this, do easy ease. Now I'll press U. Let me make sure that they're all on the same time frame. So what I'll do is highlight all of this, then go to the graph editor, highlight this, then switch to the side and check this. So if I play this, let's see what we have. Now we have our prism animation. So let us add one more thing here so that it could just keep rotating till you're ready to let it go. Come here, allow the y-axis to spin some more. This is fine. So I'm going to set this to linear keyframe by holding down Control and click. And I'm going to reduce my work area here. If I play this now, we have this. Right now, you will notice that the whole thing is moving at once, and we want the one inside to be animating all by itself. So if you remember, we set the auxiliary animation for this. What I'll do to go back to my element 3D, then now I'll go to the auxiliary channel. Remember, I set this to be 1, so I want to open this up, open up the rotation, and then if I tweak this, can you see this is rotating all by itself? Can you see? Let me just reset all of this. So what I'll do is to apply a simple expression to this. So I'll alt click here and click on times 50. Then I'll alt click on the second option here too, which is on the y-axis. So let me just stretch this a little bit. So this first one is X. I'll alt click here on the y-axis. I'll do times 100. What happens is this just keeps animating all by itself. If I play this now again. So one more thing before we go, I'm going to adjust the color depth of the composition. So I'm going to do that here when we have 8bpc. So all you need to do is alt click and then we have 16, right? This will enable us to have more color accuracy. So after all of that, let me just close all of this up, right? So we have this. So if I take this back and I play, we have our prism 3D object animation. Alright guys, so this is the general summary. The first thing is you want to create your object in Cinema 4D and then you bring it into After Effects using Element 3D. You create your material in After Effects so that Element 3D can see that and use that, and of course you add your animation and then you add your effect first and then you add your animation, and basically that's the whole process for this particular animation. Please, if you do something cool with this, you can tag me on Instagram at nas.k_works. That's my Instagram handle. And if you really like this tutorial, if you want more of this kind of tutorial, please just drop in the comment section and let me know. Don't forget, the project file is in the link in the description, and of course like and subscribe to the channel if you want more of this. All right, thank you very much. Thank you for sticking with me to this point, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you.